Accounting for inflation, wages are up 33% over 20 years ago, and unemployment is at a 50-year low. Home values have fewer homeowners underwater, and many are saving much after low-interest refis. And we're living longer. For the first time in 4 years, life expectancy is up. Cancer and heart disease are down. Attention to the opioid epidemic seems to be helping with drug ODs down, and infant mortality is lower. Among top 10 causes of death, only 2 are up: influenza/pneumonia and suicide. You can get a flu shot at the drugstore, maybe for free. But how do we cure suicide? Let's ask the author of, among other books, The Power of Off, the mindful way to stay sane in a virtual world. Psychotherapist Nancy Colier, welcome back to The Big Picture.
Thanks for having me.
As Nancy and I chat, we're going to show you a phone number at the bottom of the screen. This is for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. And if you're listening to this show as a podcast, the number is 800-273-8255. Nancy, I was struck by an American Psychological Association report on what Americans say causes significant stress. 7 in 10 cite mass shootings and health care. Roughly 2/3 are stressed out by work. 6 in 10 are bummed out by the current political climate, money, or terrorism. And more than half of us fret the actual climate changing, or the 2020 presidential election. Nancy, does this track what you're hearing in your work?
It does. It's spot on. I recently wrote a piece saying, how do we be well when the world is on fire? And I don't just mean Australia. I mean, we are living at a time, and I hear about it all day in my office as a therapist, where people are really frightened. It's a term used far too often, but there is an existential terror right now about whether we will survive. And I hear this from people who are not by nature anxious. People are anxious about whether or not we're going to be able to go outside during the day, or will it be too hot? They're terrified to send their kids to concerts because there might be a shooting. They're terrified of what's going to happen in this election. Will there be, and so on and so on. They're frightened about, even though the economy is looking good, they don't trust it. So it is a time, like perhaps other times, I've only been alive in this time, but like no other, certainly in my lifetime, and no other that I've experienced as a therapist, where anxiety is the basic state, not just for the anxious, but for everyone, and it's real. What we're facing is not in our minds. It's a reality.
Nancy, over 48,000 Americans took their lives in 2018. The most recent numbers we've seen from the Centers for Disease Control, that's up 35% since 1999. And for ages 10 to 24, it went up 56% from 2007 to 2017. Why so much higher for young people?
Well, first of all, I have to say out loud, that is unacceptable. That is an unacceptable number. Why is suicide the second leading cause of death for young people after accidents? How is that possible in our country? That for me is a point of outrage. Why it's happening is a complicated question. Some people talk about, the digital world. Some people talk about drugs and alcohol, antidepressants, so on and so on. But when we live in a culture that is such as it is, as you were just talking about with that list of frightening things, we know that it creates despair. That's why we call suicide deaths of despair. So there is economic instability. There is existential instability. There is a level of fear that we're living with. And when children are living with parents that feel this way, they feel this way. And you couple that with the loss of community in so many places, and it's not surprising that the rate of rural suicide is twice that of the urban suicide rate, which tells me that in the absence of community and in the places where guns are more available, in the places where there is more economic instability,
sure,
you see that much more suicide. So there is this terror that we're living with, but there is also the bigger problem, which is the way we manage mental health in this country. One of the most shocking statistics to me, Holland, is that we are the only country that I know of, and I could miss one here or there, but that the rates are going up.
Yep, Nancy, these shocking numbers make the case for you. I appreciate your time. Thank you again, author and psychotherapist Nancy Colier.
I'm Larry King. Questioning, listening, learning. You know, I've always said I never learned anything when I was talking. It's important to listen. Question more.